Hello, everyone. Hello, happy hump day. Hello, happy hump day. Jump in, say hi, tell everyone where you are tuning in from, since I know a lot of you, but you may not know each other yet. So I'm trying the new little holder here. Hey, Joe. Hello, everyone. Hi, Court. I see some new names jumping in, so definitely say hi so I know where you're at. And especially because this is Runner Scope, and today we're going to talk a little bit about speed work. Let me know if you are training for a specific race distance right now. Hey, Missouri. I am originally from Kansas City. Love seeing Missouri in the house. That is super exciting. Hi, Rom. All right, for those of you who, training for Philly, training for New York, let me know what else you guys are training for, whether it's 5K, half marathon in SoCal, just to make me jealous, half marathon, and then the Disney marathon, Runner Scope, half marathon, 5Ks. Awesome. Okay, fantastic. Well, that helps me, guys. So for those of you who are new here, and I definitely see some new faces, that's weird. I am Amanda from Run to the Finish. I am a lifestyle entrepreneur, a travel writer, a running coach, and all around I wear a whole lot of hats to make it all happen. Digital strategy is kind of the key to most of it. I have been a runner for about 13 years now, and I am super passionate about it, which is part of why I started Run to the Finish, because I believe that it is something that anyone can do if they want to, and should have some fun doing it. So today we're going to cover one of the questions that you guys have been asking about, which is getting faster. I want to caveat that by saying this is probably going to end up being a multi-part thing because there are a lot of facets that go into getting faster and hitting that PR. So definitely, guys, make sure you are tapping the screen for hearts so that I know we are on track. And if it's a topic that you think is great, make sure that you swipe right and you're following me for other runner scopes and sharing it so that other runners can get in here and get some information. Let's go. Okay. So first off, in terms of speed, it definitely depends on the kind of race that you're training for. Wow, really noticing my hair here. And I'm gonna just say I'm having a wacky day already, so I have no time for trolls. So I'll be blocking quickly today. All right. Depending on where you are in training actually makes a big difference as to the type of speed work that you can do and the value that you're going to get out of it. So early on in your training program, you're actually better off to spend your time doing things like hill repeats or running up hills for a long time. I know, a lot of days they're funny. Today, I'm barely hanging on by a thread with everything that's going on. So hill repeats or running long hills or just building a really solid base for your running. So if you start the beginning of your training cycle with those things, you are building strength in the legs. And that's fabulous. The strength in the legs will then allow you to do some of the speed work better. Average hill elevation, that's a really tough one. So, I live in Florida. We walk over a speed bump and we're like, whoop, we ran uphill. There are no hills here. So it really depends on where you're at. When I go out to Colorado, man, there's hills everywhere. So a lot of it depends on where you're training. If you're on the treadmill and doing it, every treadmill run, you should start it at 1%, and that should be your base. Yeah, you might look for a hill that's a little bit bigger than that if you can find one near you. But if that's what's around you and that's what the races are around you, then that'll be okay. So towards the beginning of your program, focus on the strength aspect, because the strength aspect is going to lead to the speed and ensure that you can do it injury-free. So a lot of my athletes will say that they see hills popping up more in their programs, and that's why. And yes, so here's another little tip for anyone who is new on here. We always have tons of coaches hopping into these sessions too. So you might see their comments coming up. Definitely tap on their name, view their profile so that you can follow them, and you'll be getting a lot more information from them, which is great. Yeah. So the hill is fabulous. I have a number of hill workouts on runtothefinish.com that can kind of get you started if you're looking for those, and for how to do them on the treadmill or how to do them outside. So once you're into sort of the middle part of your training, you can start to add in some speed, but especially for marathons, the goal is still really building your endurance. Now, there are two ways to do that, and one is to follow a more standard program where you're running 5 days a week, and so that includes maybe 2 days of speed work, but the other days have to be at an easy, moderate pace. Or you can do something closer to what's called the Hansen method. They run 3 days a week, and every run is hard. Now, that would never work for me. It is not my personality, but I have athletes who have done well on it. My husband has thrived on it. He only wants to run 3 days a week, and he wants to run hard when he goes out. So his long runs will never be as long as mine. He will run much shorter, but he will run very, very hard, and that works for him. I do not care for that. So there are two options. If you're going the more standard option of running, say 5, even 6 days a week, then you want to max out most of the time at 2 speed work sessions. And there are 2 different ways to do it. One is intervals, which someone mentioned in here earlier. So intervals can be done a ton of different ways. If you're just starting out, one of the easiest ways to get accustomed to doing intervals is just to do what's called a fartlek, which is speed play. So instead of worrying about hitting a specific pace or running on a track, you set yourself a specific amount of time and you run faster for that duration, and then you recover. The easiest one would be to run faster for a minute, recover for 2 minutes, and see how that goes. Yeah, so a lot of people do like to run hard. Truly, I think this is what holds a lot of runners back. We feel like the speed work has to be super formalized for it to be of any benefit, which isn't true. And we think we have to run it on a track, which isn't true. And we think we have to run like these ungodly fast paces that leave us like lungs burning, wanting to hurl and dropping dead. That's not what you do. That's maybe what sprinters do. Oh, fantastic. You're listening while you run. I love it. So sprinters, yes, man, they're out there and they're doing like 100 repeats and they are going all out because they're training for that very short distance. But endurance athletes, you aren't training for that. Your body doesn't need to be able to run a 100 in speed lightning. You need to be able to go for miles and miles and miles, and the speed work for you is about building up your base and allowing your legs to understand what those faster paces feel like. So starting out with truly just the very simple run hard for 1 minute, recover for 2 minutes. And what does run hard mean? It means push yourself to a pace that you can really only hold for about a minute. But not that you want to drop dead at the end of that minute, because at the end of that minute, you're going to slow down and jog or slow down and walk for 2 minutes. So it's getting used to that. Then you can start to move into some more formalized things where you are usually either working with a coach or maybe following a plan at that point, and you're doing things like running for a minute at your 5K pace, running for 2 minutes at your 10K pace, running for 5 minutes at your half marathon pace. So there's a lot of ways to kind of play with that too. And again, it goes back to where you are in your training and how easily you get injured. But always start with just the really basic things. So besides doing the intervals, the other one that people don't do nearly enough is running at your goal pace. So we spend a lot of time either running in our easy zone or doing these intervals, and the intervals are usually a much faster pace than what we actually want to hit on race day. So how does your body ever know what your goal pace is going to feel like if you don't spend some time running it? So there are a couple ways. Running out for pizza, bring me some. So yes, the 4x800 or 4x400, those are fabulous. In fact, you've probably heard of the Yasso test, which is in fact named after the wonderful Bart Yasso, and it can be a great predictor of marathon finish times. And that is doing 8x800 repeats, and you want to do them at the pace that you want your marathon finish time to be. So if you wanted to finish your marathon in 4 hours, you would want your 800 to be a 4-minute. And you would do 8 of those. And if you can do those, according to his test, you would be able to run your race at that pace. I will say work up to that. I definitely injured myself about 8 years ago attempting that on day 1 of training, because that's the kind of silly things we do. So yes, track work is super, super valuable. It kind of depends on your personality. I cannot stand the track, so I will avoid speed work altogether if I think I have to do it on a track. Yes. And you guys, I hope you're following Jill. She's got some great information to share. Okay, so running at your goal pace. You can either do this by inserting it into your long runs on the weekends. So maybe you do 3 miles at a warm-up pace and then practice 2 miles at your goal pace and then 3-mile cool down. Or, it kind of depends again on how far you're running and what you're training for. You can do it that way. You could just do 1 mile warm-up and then do 8 miles at your goal pace. And that's when you're getting towards peaking, so you're getting towards your most volume that you would be doing that kind of stuff. The other way you can do it is one of your midweek runs. You can practice getting used to that goal pace. So if you have maybe intervals on Tuesday, an easy run on Wednesday, and then Thursday you're ready for a little bit of speed work again, try doing something like 5 minutes at your goal pace, and then come back to your easy pace, do 5 minutes at your goal pace again, come back to your easy pace. So just do that a few times for the first week. Start getting your legs used to, what does that turnover feel like? What do my legs feel like? What are my arm motions at that pace? What does my breathing feel like? And one, it's a test to see if that pace is really something that you can sustain, because after 5 minutes, you should still feel like, I could keep doing this, but I'm going to let myself 100% recover. Or is 5 minutes at that pace already something that is really pushing you outside of your comfort zone? And that might be an indicator that maybe the goal you've set isn't quite right just yet. So those are a couple ways to kind of get started. Like I said, I think the speed work topic is much, much larger, so it's one that we'll kind of cover in a few different scopes. But I hope in terms of giving you some initial ideas to get started that this was super helpful. Remember, we want to focus on strength first and then just on doing some of those basic intervals to get yourself used to what it feels like to push outside of your comfort zone. And of course, like I said, my goal is always to make sure that you're having fun with it. So if you're like Joe and you get super psyched up by the track, then head out to the track. If you're like me, just do the random intervals as you're running. If you're like my husband, skip all the nonsense of running multiple days a week and just run hard every time. You have to kind of find what works for you. Coaches are really helpful for that, but some of it's just experience and more years of running. So, all right, gang, if there are any other questions. Good. I didn't even see you pop in, Jay, so I am so glad to hear that. And yes, thanks, Joe, for the recap. All right. Any other last questions? Otherwise, I will get back to the whirlwind of a weird, crazy, bizarre day that I'm having. But thank you, because this was a nice little mental break for me as well.